Hey, Biff, what's the difference between your job and a dead prostitute?
I might have an answer for that, but
Okay,
why don't you
yeah,
tell,
no,
why don't you
wait.
tell me?
If you got an answer, drop it.
No. Go ahead. Tell me what's the difference between my job and a dead prostitute.
Your job still sucks. Okay. All right. Biff, what do you call two men fighting over a hooker? A tug of war. A tug of war. Hello, everybody. It's Jacques.
This is Biff.
And I don't see so good. Is that is, well, we have a very special guest. And when I say special guest, I mean, my heart is a flutter. I don't think I have any right to be as happy as I am at this moment. So special guest, why don't you introduce yourself?
I haven't heard so many dead hooker jokes in all my life. Hi, this is Joe.
Welcome
back from the
Joe.
dead. We just
I'm just actually, really sad that I'm going to be the first person to return something to the rickety stool and rope store. It's, there's a reason why they don't give you receipts. Anyway.
We just finished recording next week's Sideshow. Biff and I have taken a break from dissecting our favorite musical artists and musicians and singers and all that stuff. And sadly, but very happily, we just did a tribute to Norm MacDonald that Joe graced us with his presence and his outstanding Norm. You know what? I'm just jumping way ahead. I think I'm just going to pull a clip from next week's show as this week's self-indulgent theater. If you don't have one, queued up, or if you can't think of one over the next 20 minutes.
That's groundbreaking. A future self-indulgent theater. Usually you play the best of the best, or from the past. This time, you're getting in a DeLorean and you're going
88 miles an hour.
You're not going to go back and stop 9/11. You're going to go forward.
I'm going to go forward and get a joke from next week's Sideshow. But I asked if Joe would stick around, and much to my surprise and delight and Biff's absolute giddiness, he is here to stay for this. Anyways, so welcome, Joe. As you know, nothing's changed. It's still.
I haven't been keeping up with the podcast.
How's your podcast going?
Yeah,
you still got that podcast. So I'm gonna. I didn't have this. Biff just added something to run down. I'm adding something to run down. I forgot to put on the rundown that Halloween started for me this week, and I point that out because last weekend I was going to surprise management when she was out of the house and put up a couple of the inflatables that we have for the front yard, and I wanted to pick up a couple more. And our friend Renatezky's
Isn't that what you got? What got you banned from the school board last time?
I mean, in 2021, people still want to judge, and I'll say it: love is love, Biff. Love is love. And if it's love between two men, two women, or me and an inflatable, but seriously, friend of the podcast, Renatezky's in town, and I knew she would want to go shopping to, get some of these inflatables, but I'm like, nah, it's
now it sounds even worse. Now
it does sound worse.
Shopping.
Put the shovel down, Jacques. Put the shovel down. But I did, like last weekend. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I annoy the neighbors as much as I already do with the year-round Christmas tree out there and stuff. So I said, no, I'll wait. And then taking the kids to school on Monday, like there's 2 yards about like a half mile away that obviously spent every waking moment, putting Halloween stuff on. And I'm like, damn it. I will say, I'm very proud that last year I found a Christmas shirt or a Halloween shirt. It's a skeleton's face, wearing a Christmas hat. And so I put that t-shirt on our skeleton, and I also busted out the Christmas box and put a hat on him. Anyways, I'm stupid, but I will say, I don't think I'm too early putting up the Halloween stuff. I will say we went into Costco, and there was more Christmas stuff out than Halloween stuff. I shit you not. And I'm like, dudes, you know.
Guys, I'm seeing Martin Luther King stuff out now, and I'm like, it's too early. It is too early.
So I'm also going to share some other happy news that I think I told Biff about off air, and I haven't told Joe about it all. But last year, my wife was nannying for somebody who is a trust fund baby and who hasn't worked and signed up and got PUA money. And she came home one day and said, have you signed up for this? I'm like, no. She goes, you had the military tour canceled. You had that job with Alex at, for Overtime Sports that went away. And you and Ron, started the company last year that you put a lot of money into it and you got an LLC and all this stuff. COVID killed all of that. Why aren't you filing for this stuff? And I didn't think about it. So I did. I called. I'm like, hey, I don't know if I qualify, but here's all the, I had these 6 military tours and I had all this, I had the deal memo, and they're like, oh yeah, no, this, you definitely have to. And the person walked me through it and they were great. It was held up for 4 months because I have a 52-year-old Social Security card that was dog-eared. Like my driver's license, my passport, my birth certificate, like all this paperwork from the filings and all, but it got held up. And because of the pandemic, Social Security office wasn't open. It took 4 months to get a new Social Security card. Then I get all the money. Great. I get a letter like 6-8 weeks ago, basically from Joey Bag of Donuts shaking me down from the PUA people saying, we fucked up. You shouldn't have got this money. You have 4 hours to put it in a duffel bag and leave it under the Saken Bridge, or, we're going to come. And I'd say, kill one of our rescue animals, which at this point, take your pick, take 2, but I did. And it's like, I didn't panic, but I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of money that they're asking back a year later saying, you fucked up. We fucked up, gave you this money, but now we decided a year later that we shouldn't have. Give it all back. And I will say, I didn't panic. I Googled it, found a couple law firms that are like, oh, hey, yeah, if you're dealing with this, give us a call. I also called my local state rep, who was great. I absolutely got back to me the same day. His office got back to me the same day. Elizabeth Warren's office got back to me about 2 or 3 days later. And it was a whole quote unquote appeal process. But while I was waiting for the appeal, like a couple more letters came in. And it's funny because when I talked to the lawyer, they're like, yeah, you haven't even filled out, and they don't really tell you. It's like, oh, you don't owe them that money. There's waivers, there's this or that. But they basically word it like that. So, hey, let's see who's scared and send us money versus, hey, let's do the right thing here. So luckily I reached out. And I went on Twitter. I searched. I found a couple people around the country. Other states are doing this, and ended up becoming pals. And like, hey, this is how I'm doing it. This is what And they were like, oh, I did X, Y, and Z. And yes, there is a Santa Claus. I got the letter last week saying, oh yeah,
keep the money.
You don't owe us the money,
Yeah,
but the day before in the mail, I got a letter saying, because they must have mailed it out a week before, saying, we're going to be nice and let you make 4 payments over the next, and you can give us your credit card, or like, here's all the payment options, ways you can pay us, and here's the time frame you can pay us. And then like 2 days later, and then I did, I circled back, I circled back to, to the rep, and I'm like, yeah, your office never asked me my affiliation or if I voted for the dude, the guy's name is Golden. Same thing with Elizabeth Warren's office. It was just nice that, I actually reached out and got some help. So
wait, the government, right?
The government,
the government fucked up, right?
Yep.
And then they tried to make you pay back the money that they gave you. But then who comes to the rescue? The government. The government comes to your rescue, the good part of the government. So the government is broken, but the system works.
The power is within you the whole time. I mean, the big thing is don't panic. You get a letter, so it's no more than where all those letters come from nowadays, those pyramid schemes, those
like Nigerian
Nigerian
Prince
prince, right. It's akin to that, and yeah, I first thought, well, this could suck, but there's no way I'm going to pay this. There's no way I should have to pay this. But you did. You had the twinges where 95% of the time you're like, no, this is going to work out. But you would have the voice saying, it's like you're going to lose everything,
Yeah.
But it did. It did
Yeah.
work out.
Good.
Awesome.
That's good.
So it was nice. What else worked out this week is, as I said, our friend Renatezky is in from Los Angeles. It's been great. And what's really fun about it is, we were going to go to New York and do Ellis Island, Statue of Liberty, and a couple other things. And management was like, yeah, we haven't done a bunch of shit in our own backyard. And,
Yeah.
maybe the next trip you guys can do it, but why don't we do the duck tour, which if anybody doesn't know.
The boat?
Yeah. Have you ever done one of those, Biff, when you've been here?
I considered it, and then I saw the price and I said, yeah, screw that. It's not worth
No,
that.
it's not that bad. No, it is worth it. It absolutely is worth it. It was a lot of fun. It is totally worth the price. It's about $40, person. It's a 2-hour tour, and it's in an amphibious craft, and you get a tour of Boston.
Yeah.
Have you done it, Joe? Are you a
Yes,
bad Bostonian?
yeah.
Okay, you have done it because you're a
God,
good
yeah.
father and took your kids.
Back when I was a good father. Then now it's all gone away. But yeah, we did it when we were, I think, living in LA. We came back. That was the last time. So it was like 2001. It was pre 9/11 or something.
Wow.
Like that. Yeah.
So it's probably not much different, but it is cool.
Yeah.
But we also, the Isabella Gardner Museum that I've raved about that show. What's funny because this is a robbery 4-part series on Netflix about the biggest art heist in the history of the world. The day after, St. Patrick's Day, 1990. The artwork still hasn't been recovered. The museum is amazing. I won't go into it again. I've bored everybody before, but the architecture of the museum is incredible. It's amazing. But the 5 paintings, the frames still hang where these works of arts were cut out of the frames. Like they didn't steal the whole thing. They cut the frames out so they could roll them up. And so we finally saw that this week. And then after that, we did an escape room that was this whole. They have like 25 different, rooms inside this complex, and it was fun. And then the next day or 2 days after we finally get to the museum, the official, quote unquote, official last person of interest alive from that museum heist died. And, the same week that we got there. Coincidence? But
It's funny how they turned the heist into a tourist attraction, they kind of reinvigorated the interest in the Isabella Gardner Museum.
It's this world-renowned museum. And the funny thing is, about 2 weeks ago, about a week ago, there was something on the radio. In my day, we would listen to and anyways, there's the series is called Titan. There's an artist from 500 years ago who was known for, this series of works, and the art was bought by museums around the world at the time. And these are huge works of art. Honestly, they're about 6x4. If that gives you a good frame of reference, Biff.
Yep.
Joe, that's the size of a hockey net, 6x4. Thank you for playing along. And anyways, the Gardner Museum, after 10 years of negotiating, let their picture, as did these other museums, and the 5 pictures have traveled around the world for the last 2 years. The last stop of this world tour is at the Gardner Museum, and it's the first time those paintings have hung on the same walls in 500 years. And so it's like, holy shit, how do I not? I mean, it's twice as old as our country was. You know what I mean? Right. I think the Vikings were having the first Thanksgiving with the Native Americans when those paintings were first. And so I'm looking at the paintings, being the art aficionado that I am, and I'm reading the plaque next to it. And then I asked the guard, and I will definitely post this. I'm like, I don't want to sound like a troglodyte, but is this picture the catalyst for Clash of the Titans? And the guy had the reaction Biff did, and he goes, it actually is. It's truly the story of the Clash of the Titans. like the monster wasn't called the Kraken, but it was the same figures and the same Medusa and all of that stuff. And I'm like looking at the picture, I'm like, huh. Then I read the little plaque and I'm like thinking, okay, hold on. I might know something here. But
before you get canceled, I want to say that the term is troglodyte. Not
okay.
what you said.
Okay. I don't want to know what I said then.
You can hear it back when you listen.
But I mean, that whole story is basically based on Greek mythology, right? I mean, they're actual.
Right.
So I mean, that's stuff that's been depicted for years. So
it's like the movie The 300. I'm friends with one of the producers on it, and I'm like, oh my god, the dialogue. Some of the dialogue is my favorite dialogue in movies. He's like, yeah, that's actually from the text. What I mean? That's from the historical thing. They're great lines. I'm not saying they're not great lines, but it wasn't like, us in the back room. It's like, how
just
can
read
we
it the way Charlie wrote it.
this? could stand in
people watching Ben-Hur, and it's like, oh my god,
right?
Ben-Hur thing.
So the other thing we did with
drama
with Renatezky, we went to the drive-in, loved the drive-in, saw the 10 Rings. It's fucking fantastic. Like, nothing will the phase 1 of Marvel, the 21 movies culminating with Infinity War. I don't think that will ever happen again, but their phase 2 is off to a pretty fucking strong start with the MCU, shows on Disney Plus, and this movie, The 10 Rings. It is fucking fantastic. It's I'm a DC guy. I like the darkness, but god damn it, Marvel really does the big budget fight scenes with monsters and comedy better than anybody. It's hysterical. The movie's hysterical.
And Jacques, I know I don't want to quiz you on these things, but I'm sure you know.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Why? Why,
as you know, you are such an aficionado of the MCU and not only the characters but the actors who play them.
Dude,
so
it's his first movie. Okay, you know the guy who plays Wong, from Infinity War and from Doctor Strange. I know that actor's name.
Okay,
Wong.
Great.
His last name is Wong. I know that.
Right.
Shin-Chi. No, I don't know the actor's name from Shin-Chi.
Who plays or Shang-Chi? Who plays Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi.
Simu Liu, is that right? Something like that.
Biff?
Simu Liu, is that his name?
You are correct.
Yeah.
See? Yeah.
And you know what? I wouldn't have known it either.
Okay.
It's only because he's actually a pretty good Twitter follow, and that's why I have him on as a follow. And that's the only reason why I know, because I haven't even seen the movie.
The girl in it, who's been in a ton of things. She's one of my wife's favorite actresses. She is so far. She was
she's an American actor, and her name is.
No. She's not an American. Well, she might be American, but she's
Canadian?
No, she's Asian.
I know, but she's American.
Oh, okay. And she was in Crazy Rich Asians.
No, really, what are you?
Well, I mean, I know Aquafina was in it. Is it her or
Aquafina? Yeah,
that's her. And she's fucking hysterical. Like everything she really says is absolutely hysterical. But I also saw Free Guy for the second time. The boys and I saw it a few weeks ago in the theater, and it was great, Joe. It was one of those things. Like they had a day off from school because like first week of school, let's give them that Friday off. What the fuck? And it's like nobody was in the theater. It was just the three of us. We can make it if we try. And but that was fantastic. I don't know if you've seen it, but god damn it, you and your boys got to go because you're video guys, and it's hysterical. It's Ryan Reynolds as a non-playable character in a video game that becomes self-aware. And there's a couple things where, again, just like I was saying in the future podcast, where I management usually sees stuff before me, and she loves watching me for my reactions. There's a couple things in there that I was just absolutely wanted to fast forward to get to see her reactions. The boys lost their shit because all the YouTubers are actual YouTubers that they know. And that they follow. So it was like that inside. So like almost fourth wall, but not fourth wall.
Yeah.
Highly recommend both of them. But yeah. I know going to movies is still a scary thing. I get that, but you know, if you were to brave a drive-in if it's still playing, I highly recommend both those movies. You know. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm
I if they were driving within 500 miles of us, I would definitely go.
It's an
with-
hour. It's the same distance to Mendon for you that it is for me. Where we saw
Yeah,
back.
I know.
Well, I insist upon myself. When Afterlife comes out, we will go there because they're going to have the ghost.
Maybe.
You know they'll have the Ghostmobile there. You know they will.
Oh, if they have the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 there? Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Because we saw it when last summer. No, it's not last summer. The summer before Joe and I went. Was it part 1 and 2 Back to the Future?
No, it was Back to the Future and
Goonies.
And Jaws. Wasn't it a triple feature, or is that 2 trips that
No, we went 2 trips. There was 2 trips.
Oh, okay. But it was Goonies and Back to the Future.
And they had they had an awesome DeLorean there. Sometimes they just roll out a DeLorean, but this one had the bells,
Props,
and the whistles, right?
and mannequins dressed up as Doc Brown.
That you could stand next to that didn't look creepy at all.
No.
So Biff, being the resident Canadian on the podcast, what do you think of Trudeau's win this week?
So, I want to start off by saying, do you know how you spell Trudeau's name? I looked at the rundown. Trudeau. What the hell is Trudeau wins? Is that some kind of a...
Weren't they like a progressive band in the 80s or something?
What's
Yeah, they opened up for Dexter's
Fish.
Midnight Run.
It said wins. So I thought, is this some kind of a new Boston sports team or something?
Sorry.
Like
Justin Trudeau.
I'm thinking of
Trudeau.
Spandau Ballet. Sorry, that was
I get those confused all the time. No, but the dreamy president from the Great White North is his official title. I believe.
Sure. Yeah. You know what? I don't know all of the details, but there is. I think there's definitely that elements that I've seen in various sources where I think there's a lot of frustration over the just the COVID fatigue factor, and then there's that whole similar elements that are kind of that anti whatever, the vaccination mask, all that stuff is also prevalent in Canada, and obviously those people are in many ways. I think that Trudeau wins is similar to the Newsom not recalled, I think. And because I think Trudeau also had his stint of do as I say, not as I do, kind of a thing. So I think in many ways they're very whatever. So
both a waste of money, right?
We'll get into that in a little bit, but I think, did Trudeau call for the snap election? What is a snap election?
I thought it comes from like when you have these something that is akin to a vote of no confidence kind of a thing that happens, that like if you get enough of this kind of thing that you can kind of have that election, right? I think that's kind of the idea, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't remember how it's been so long since I had to look at Canadian civics stuff. I don't remember squat from it, but yeah, they have these other parliamentary rules where I think that you could, and like similar to a recall, right? If there's clearly opposition to him, and if you get enough together, whatever stuff together, then like an election can happen. And Canada's like the same population as California, right? It's really exactly the same.
I mean, all it is it's a power grab. There's like loopholes written into the election laws where if one party wants to snatch power away from the ruling party, they can do so.
Now, so moving on to something else. So my boys have taken a little bit. They don't love it. They don't love anything except here's a video game and a bag of Doritos, go to town. But they've been doing this Muay Thai kickboxing for a couple months now. And I want them to start actually sparring. So they had some gear at the place, but I want them to have their own gear so we can, work out the house. And I asked the guy, like, hey, do you know a good martial arts / boxing place that I can go? Because you can go into Dick's, they'll have like a pair of like gloves and stuff like that. But I want the real stuff. And I got some stuff. We bought a, 130-pound Muay Thai bag like last fall that we all work out on. And it's great. And it's got some gloves, got some of the stuff. But when you get it from, Amazon, I don't know what I'm really getting. So the guy tells me, oh yeah, there's this one place. It's a couple towns over. It's called, uh, what is it? It's the Orient Gateway. Oriental Gateway is the name of the place. And so I tell my wife, I'm going to this place, Oriental Gateway, to get some martial arts thing. And she took offense to that. And we had a little bit of a conversation. She says, you can't use that term anymore. That company should change their name. I said, she goes, the only time that's acceptable is with like rugs and vases.
Yeah.
She might have said vases. And I wasn't looking for an argument. As
I wish I could see the look on her face.
As anybody knows, I go to great lengths to not get into discussions with her about things. But I said, well, why? I said, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying that it's an outdated name, but why do rugs get a pass and vases get a pass? And this goes, oh, well, because at a time before the nations all formed different things, when it was more of a regional thing, or this or that, or it wasn't, the defined nations as we know them now and stuff like that. It's a blanket thing. And I said, well, the martial arts are the same way, and I pointed out that, because everything we know about Okinawa now from the Karate Kid and from you talking over the last few podcasts, Biff, that Okinawa was its own kind of country. And yeah, it's kind of part of Japan, but it's kind of its own thing. And at the same time, Okinawa martial arts developed from people going off to China and bringing it back there. So it's like, it's the whole region, it's like we're taking Muay Thai, Taiwanese, you know what I mean? It's all this stuff. And it fuses like Kempo, which is one style, and and Taekwondo, which is Korean and stuff like that. So I said, so how come it's this overall encompassing martial arts thing from the whole, greater Asia continent? Why is Orient the wrong word? And so if you could drop some knowledge on me. So, I know I'm not going to circle back to them and tell these people you got to change the name for the company, because they sell martial arts stuff.
Right.
And I think I'd be outmatched.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily trying to disagree with Ellen, but I always thought that the use as a way to describe people was the problem, right? And because I know that there's like a literal, like this legit huge company called the Oriental Trading Company. So I think that a use, it seems like there is still use where it's not pertaining to people, right? It is inappropriate for you to call me an Oriental, even though you call me a lot worse all the time.
But never to your face.
Well, no, to my face, but but still, I think that's how I understood it. Like, you're not supposed to call people Oriental. So that I haven't really looked too deeply into it, right? Aside from that, and obviously I heard the the rugs thing, right? I think that it's also, for some reason, I also kind of heard it. The only place non-food where I actually heard that it's inappropriate to use is to call, to use the term Oriental food is another one. For some reason, that there have been people who took offense to it, and I actually don't know the real, why that is, but because I know you could still, like, there's the whole reference to the Orient, right? So, and that's kind of, I guess it's like an kind of the old way that they used to refer to that. I don't know exactly what that part of the Eastern Asian area was just referred to as the Orient, right? So
now Joe, dirty Portuguese, that's still cool, right? That's the blanket statement.
Dirty Portuguese. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay. Thank you. See,
No,
this-
well,
Wow.
I would think that the store would probably want to take the route of the Washington football team and just change their name to like
Yeah.
the Massachusetts Martial Arts Store.
All right. Nunchucks are us. And
Yeah.
I had to get out of there because I did. I was, a kid in a candy store because they were doing these like kicking drills and you have these kind of special vests on. And my little guy, they didn't have one small enough for him. So they had like a wedge of boxing glove between his back and the strap behind it so he could kind of wear it. And we just got our 14-year-old out of braces. And it's like, yeah, like I want him to start sparring. I don't want him to get concussed or anything like that, but light sparring or regular sparring, because you don't get like when we're working out and I'm like, and you're hitting a punching bag that doesn't hit back, you don't get into the habit of blocking, very well, unless you, but I got him a mask that you could, block. I also got him like hybrid MMA gloves that, are boxing gloves, but without the palm. So you can still grip and stuff. And then I was like, oh, the fighting sticks, those look cool. And we can, and I'm like, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, let's see if they use this stuff for a couple months before you go down. No, but I did want to ask, because honestly, as much as I try not to be a Neanderthal and try to keep up with every time they add a letter to the LGBTQ
IA plus.
right. I knew it was an I something plus. I was gonna get most of them. You know what I mean? I was gonna get most of them, but I did.
I mean, I will say one thing, right? I mean, I think it's so, the store name is a store name, and like there's some aspects of it. It's like the salon that was called the ISIS salon because they were thinking about the Egyptian use of the word, and then so suddenly they have the unfortunate coincidence that a terrorist group decided to use the same combination of letters, but it's easy enough for people not to use that word, right? So I think in everyday use, certainly I would say that, I mean, except for rugs where that's what they're called, right?
Yep.
I think everything else, I think it's just as well not to use it. Like you don't have to use that word.
So isn't there a big restaurant, the Orient Express? Or am I thinking a movie? That's an old movie.
That's
there's a Murder on the Orient Express. That's an Agatha
Murder
Christie.
on the Orient Express.
So a couple things. It was going back 10 years.
Panda Express, sorry.
Maybe 10 years ago. Scotty Black and I are the last ones out of the locker room. Biff is out, playing, goal, and this older guy. And you'll know who I'm talking about, Biff, but the guy's like 75 to 80, but not like 75 to 80 like Paul was.
Right.
He was 80 going on 100.
Yeah.
And an old goalie. And he looks out, and it's Scotty Black, whose wife is from Japan, and I in the room. And he looks out and goes, oh, who's out playing goal? And we're like, oh, that's Biff. He goes, oh, that's that Oriental fella, right? And Scotty Black and I look at each other, and without saying a word, we're like, and we both turn to him like, yep. Yeah, like, the Oriental fella. It's like, to have this conversation with him, I might as well have turned like 180 and started talking to the blue bricks on the wall behind the stall. And as soon as he left, just the absurd laughter. And the other thing about ICE is when we moved to Qatar in 2014, I got the luxury of flying back and forth with the kids and the pets. Management had a cat at that point for 12 years, that all the paperwork, it's named ISIS. So here I am getting on a plane, flying to Dubai to get a connecting flight to Qatar with all the paperwork. And every time when because it was a carry-on, you had to carry the cats on. It's like you would go through 3 different checkpoints. And most of the time people would look at the paperwork and look at me, and I'd be like, it's an old cat. It was, it's Wonder Woman's sister's name from the TV show. It's an ancient goddess, but like, yeah, the irony.
I mean, in honesty, though, I mean, it's not a registered name or anything, right? You could have just given it. You could have just said it Fluffy every time, and it wouldn't
no. But all the paperwork has to have it because there's when you're taking cats.
I understand.
Like
my
the
point being
rabies.
that,
right.
You could have just said Fluffy. Her name is Fluffy.
Oh no, to get. It's crazy, but yes, you're right. Like, hey, there's probably a bunch of very fine adults out there. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking that's a dated name. Okay, now that got that squared away, why don't you tell us about the crime-ridden homeland of yours, Biff?
Well, so
America.
Yeah.
Fuck
well,
yeah.
yeah.
Canada, by way. Hawaii by way of Toronto, by way of Tokyo.
It's all over the place. Yeah. So you know, you know, obviously, you know, Japan has a lot of these unmanned services where you just walk in, and it's on the honor system. You grab whatever you're gonna get, and then you pay either by card, or they have a little one of these, you know, little slotted boxes where you could put the payments in. And this dude had the audacity to walk in to one of these stores, take roughly $50 worth of food, and pretend like he's actually stuffing the box when he's not, and then, you know, go off, right? And so
the old Tennessee Top Cat, where he puts the money in the meter, but it's on a string, and he pulls it out.
Not even that slick. And so the store owners put up, you know, these flyers with the photos, screen grabs from the surveillance camera that they have, and, you know, saying, you know, if you see this guy, you know, call the police, blah blah blah. So obviously, after, you know, experiencing this, the next day the store owner is paying close attention to the surveillance camera from home, and it turns out this guy walks in. But the first night he was wearing this, as you said, it's such an awful jacket that Joe called it a crime to wear this yellow and red. I don't know what the pattern was, but the next day he comes in with a more reasonable red and black jacket. But the owner immediately recognized him because he was wearing the same, you know, the track pants and these orange shoes. And so the guy rushes to the store and confronts the guy. They call the police, and essentially they go through this whole thing, and the police basically, you know, detain him. But yeah, he was caught because he not only did he come into the same store, he thought just changing the jacket would be enough. You know, all he had to do, freaking change pants and wear slippers or flip-flops or something, and he would have been fine. But no, lazy crimes. You know?
You didn't show Joe the other clip, but the other clip that you put on the rundown, was that somebody stealing snakes?
Well, there were actually types of, I think, lizards or geckos or something like that, and it's actually supposedly very, like, high price. I mean, we're talking about I think $20,000, you know, worth of, you know, they're apparently very rare lizards, and it was actually at a pet store, and the store worker made a point of saying that, you know, they don't even have the price tag on them because they're not for sale. They're just for display. It's just something that they have, you know, to, you know, basically raise interest in the store. So obviously the person knew what he was doing, right? The crazy stuff is, so they you know, this makes the news and it's all out everywhere. And if you looked at the surveillance camera, I mean, that dude looks like, you know, one of those, you know, what do you call those Jawas or whatever they call in Star Wars. I mean, you know, you just see these, you know, bright lights on, you know, over a hooded face. It's like, yeah, whatever. You can't even tell what that person looks like. But after this thing aired on the TVs and stuff like that, the guy returned the lizards and said, "Hey, I just happen to have possession of these things, and I think these might be lizards of interest to you," kind of a thing.
I've used that line at so many bars that I might have a lizard of interest to you.
Lizard of interest. Yeah.
Now, are these local stories? Oh, sorry.
That's the thing. These are freaking national stories. This is on the national news. This is how freaking peaceful it is in Japan. I mean, that stuff makes the national news. They literally have to grab international incidents in order for them to really, you know. And we're not talking about the real internet. There's obviously international incidents of international interest. We're talking about those goofy, you know, the goat that essentially has the, you know, the pattern of a Pokemon on the side of their, you know, those kinds of things make the Japanese national news. You know, it's a peaceful country.
Yeah, I was wondering if, like, the guy was planning on, like, flipping the lizards. Like, what was he going to do with those? Like, were they like, right, are the lizards like PlayStation 5s where like, like not everybody has them, but they're like really expensive, like, you know? I mean, yeah. I mean, by the way, have we learned nothing from, like, the coronavirus, like the wet markets, and, you know, why are we putting lizards in storefronts? Like, what are we doing? Like, this is madness, I say.
I tell you. Lizards.
Speaking of madness, what is it? It is almost October. by the time this post, yeah, almost October. 10 months later, it looks like it's not, I don't know if it's official, but 10 months later, it looks like Joe Biden won Arizona. I don't know if you guys found that out, but made the news that
but wait, they might need a recount in Texas,
which is great. He won Texas. Like, why are you recounting a state that he won? But the whole hysterical thing, because Joe mentioned it a little bit ago, in California, $260 million. Now, California is doing fine money-wise. They actually have such a surplus, they have to give some back. But I'm guessing $260 million could house some of these homeless people, could pay some teachers, but no, like Newt Gingrich and like 6 people put together this scam recall and cost taxpayers $260 million. Oh, all the government waste. It's like, yeah, well, you fuckers are doing this. I don't know what Arizona's thing is, but the hysterical thing is almost every one of these, and this is going back last November, December, when they recounted in Georgia 3 times, when they recounted in Wisconsin 3 times, when they recounted in Pennsylvania twice, almost every single time, and it wasn't a lot, but it was 200 more votes for Biden. Like almost every one of these recounts. And there was one in Wisconsin where it was close enough, it triggered a recount automatically, and then after that recount, you can appeal to have a second recount done, which they did. But then if you want a third recount, you have to pay for, and it costs like $4 million. And one of his donors put up like 2.5 million, that when it came back and Biden had like 400 more votes than when they started, demanded his money back. It's like, yeah, that doesn't work like that. I paid all this money to go to the Red Sox game, but they lost, so I want my money back. But for months, this ridiculousness of that. And it's like, when does it stop? And apparently, looking at my calendar here, never.
Well, I think there should be like a rule that if a state needs more than one recount, you have to bring in another state to do the counting, because obviously your state can't count.
Well, they did this code. I want to say, no, Code Ninja is a coding camp by us. We almost sent the kids to last summer. What is Cyber Ninjas, a company from Florida, like a QAnon conspiracy, like literally looking for bamboo pole, but it's almost
they
hysterical.
misspell cyber. That's how legitimate they are, I'm sure.
I guess the part that confuses me, though, like there are these, constitutionally mandated deadlines for when election results have to be kind of certified, and I understand the sentiment of thinking that, there's some, like, even though there's no proof of it, these people have this paranoia that there were election improprieties in all these places. Whatever the case may be, that's why it's such a waste of money, right? Because like we've constitutionally gone through all of the steps, the election has been certified and all that stuff, right? So
but is it a waste of money? Because maybe the big picture for like the Republicans who are let's call it what it is. The Republicans are trying to sow this sort of mistrust in the voting system. So this is just the long-term investment. They're like, well, it's taxpayers' money. We're good at wasting that. Let's make it so that we make people, even if obviously the outcome is going to be, in favor of the opposition, regardless. It's not going to. The election results changing isn't the goal. The goal is to sow this sort of like, wait a second, maybe there is something screwy with the elections. I don't trust the system no more.
The overall thing for the GOP is to do exactly what you're saying, Joe. On the other hand, because I'm on the mailing list, I get 2 or 3 emails a day from Donnie Three Scoop's organization fundraising off this. I mean, they fundraise every single day off of this. And the January 6th thing, which last week and it's funny because, like I said, with Renatezky here, we thought about, we'll go to New York for a day, and DC is just 3 or 4 hour drive. We'll go to, and then I'm like, oh, wait, no, they're having that big rally down in DC. We're not going down to DC. That big rally, there was more media people, than the January. Anyways, it's just ridiculous.
Protesters. Yeah, it was not a high turnout.
It was, what's going to be a high turnout is they start the subpoenas for the people for the January 6th thing. Like Steve Bannon got his subpoena and all those people. It's just theater and whatever. But it's like, dude, it's the fact that within hours of the Arizona results coming off, they already moved the goalpost and they got Abbott, the piece of shit in Texas, to say, yeah, we're going to do a recount, which again, they won the 2 Senate seats. Like Ted Cruz won re-election. He carried the state. Why are you recounting? Like that's the most insane thing. But anyways.
And now for something completely different.
You know, I don't know if you all are history buffs, right? But the worst country, in my opinion, in the world is Germany, because Germany, right, in the earlier part of the 20th century, they decided to go to war. And who do they choose as their enemy? The world. So, and you figure, oh yeah, you know, that'll take like 5 minutes. You know, the world will, you know, pretty much defeat Germany. Turns out it was close. Then, of course, for the second time, Germany decides to choose as its foe the world. And then, you know, it's even closer. And so you figure, like, after the second time, the world would just go, yeah, Germany, you don't get to be a country no more, on account of you keep starting wars with the world.
Thanks, Mo.
I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves. I hope we pass the audition.
What else is insane? Moving on to the funding of COVID, Biff, you had a very troubling update in the COVID rundown this week.
Yeah. So, you know, something that came out in the hockey news, a goalie named Alex Stalock, essentially is taking this year off because essentially he's developed a serious heart problem as essentially basically he's I guess one of those, you know, what do they call it? The long whatever guys.
COVID long hauler.
Long haulers, right? Basically, he has these residual symptoms that have turned into these into a heart condition. So basically, we're talking about someone, you know, he's a freaking elite athlete developing this that's requiring him to take a year off.
But is he a much older person? Because COVID doesn't affect young people.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, he's like what, 30 something, right? But
Oh
still,
yeah,
To a 10-year-old, that's really old.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you ask any 10-year-old, 30 is like freaking, you know. I mean, 40 is a grandpa, right? But no, but I mean, it's serious. I mean, these are people who are in great shape that, you know, are dealing with this. So there's that. And then, so I don't know if if this is related at all or just in general, because, you know, NHL suffered greatly because more than any other sports, NHL is dependent on gate receipts for their revenue. So it's not like football where you could have, you know, those crappy teams with nobody in the stadium. Those guys still make money because of the TV contracts. NHL needs the people in the building. So they are not messing around when it comes to players who refuse to get vaccinated. If you are not vaccinated and you contract COVID, while they will force you to sit out, and while you're sitting out, you don't get paid.
right.
Whereas if you are vaccinated and if you're a breakout case, they treat that as an injury.
Now, what's going to happen this year with traveling to Canada and back?
Yeah, that's the other thing where you know, because of the Canadian laws in regards to, you know, vaccination and everything else, essentially. So we talked about Tyler Bertuzzi of the Detroit Red Wings not getting his vaccination. He will not be traveling with the team when they, you know, play road games in Canada. And there's another player in New Jersey. They haven't named him yet, but obviously it's going to come up because, hey, New Jersey's going to have to travel to Canada to play some games. And hey, why is this dude missing every time they go to Canada? Right?
Hey,
I mean,
Canada's not a big hockey country, so it's
no,
a big
not at
deal.
all.
Don't
no.
worry about it.
Thankfully.
And today in Boston, just as we're recording this today, the company that owns the TD Garden said you have to have masks at all events inside the garden. So that's the Bruins, that's you know, the Celtics, and you know, the Beanpot and all that stuff. So vaccinated or not, you still have to wear a mask at all events inside Boston Garden. I'm still not going. Like, you know, I mean, I did, you know, a couple of weeks ago, went to Patton Oswald, and you had to show proof of vaccination and wear a mask in there. And it was fine because luckily it wasn't lot of empty seats around us. I love Patton Oswalt, but it wasn't a packed thing. But still, yeah, you could not get me to go to a Bruins game or a concert like that.
You're not going to see Comics Come Home if we get tickets. Like we did that last time.
That was fun. We saw,
the Cam Neely thing, right?
Yeah, Cam Neely.
You saw Michael J. Fox. Wasn't he a little shaky? As you
no,
stupid.
No, it was Biff. Kudos. Gosh bless him. Keep fighting that good fight, man. But no public speaking. It hurt. It honestly.
Isn't that kind of the point? Kind of like say, hey, this is what it looks like.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah.
So that we got that.
Are you saying that those people should be swept out of the limelight and hidden?
Yes. Put in a leopard colony where
just because you're uncomfortable with it, I mean, come on,
dude, it was awful. Okay.
I will say though, you know what? So before the Delta thing was a thing, I actually, a friend of mine and a couple of my friends and I got tickets to a concert that's going to happen next month. So, we'll see how it goes. I'll be masking inside.
Who's the concert?
It is a band called Avatar, Swedish kind of goth death metal.
Big fan, Joe. You got all their album.
I probably wouldn't put my COVID. I wouldn't put COVID on the line to go see Avatar. You know what I mean? Like that sounds like a double mask.
Would you put COVID on the line to go see Chris Pratt playing Mario and a new movie?
Oh, we saw that Nintendo Direct announcement live. So for those of you who don't know, Nintendo Direct is a quarterly YouTube stream that Nintendo puts out where they announce their upcoming products. And one of the products is this new Super Mario Brothers movie that Nintendo is working directly with the studio Illumination, who brought you the Minions. Thank you. And don't forget the other Minions movie and that other Minions movie. And I think there's a fourth. But anyway.
So this is animated.
Despicable Me's. There's 3 Despicable Me's, and then there's the Minion movie.
Okay, thank you. So, one of the things that they teased was not only the release date, which is December 21st, 2022, which is like, oh, that's a year away. That's pretty awesome. I kind of forgot that they were producing this movie, and so I wasn't really expecting I wasn't expecting that announcement, and I wasn't expecting that date. But then Shigeru Miyamoto, who is the father of Mario, was presenting this announcement. And he said, we also want to introduce the voice cast of the Super Mario Brothers movie. And first person up, who's playing Mario? Is it going to be Charles Martinet, who's the guy who's been doing the "It's a me Mario" voice for, 30 years? No, it's everybody's favorite Italian American. You guessed it, Chris Pratt.
But in all fairness, though, in the live action version, it was Bob Hoskins, right? Wasn't it?
It was.
So I mean, it's not like they followed that.
They couldn't get Lou Albano,
right? He was,
Danny DeVito. Come on, right? I thought Danny DeVito was the obvious choice.
I would have said Danny DeVito too, but apparently he's like 70. So,
well, but talking about when Bob Hoskins.
Back then, yeah, I think I think DeVito might have turned it down, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so Chris Pratt is playing Mario. And I like Chris Pratt. I wasn't as upset about it as my son Connor was when we hear the announcement, because we all knew that this was going to be a blockbuster movie with a blockbuster cast, but to put Chris Pratt in that role, I guess, is puzzling, to say the least. The following other people are like Anya Taylor-Joy from The Queen's Gambit is going to be Princess Peach. Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is playing Luigi.
Oh, well, you mean from Pacific Rim?
Yes. Not Atlantic Rim, Pacific Rim.
And producer of the great show Mythic Quest on Apple TV Plus.
He co-produces it with Rob McElhenney. Okay. So there's him, and Seth Rogen is going to do the voice of Donkey Kong. But I think universally accepted among all of the questionable cast announcements, Jack Black as Bowser.
Bowser. Yeah.
Not Bowser from Shauna, for those of you old enough to remember that.
Jim Bowman, you mean?
Jim Bauman, yeah, Bowser Bauman. Yeah, he's playing Bowser, which I think is just rad. I think that's awesome. I don't see no notes on that casting choice.
Nope, that's perfect. Perfect.
Keegan Michael Key is playing Toad. If you know who Toad is, it's that little like he's got kind of a voice like this kind of thing.
Wait, isn't that the mushroom?
Yeah, the mushroom people.
The mushroom that was referenced by possibly an adult film star to look like somebody's.
Yes.
Is that
right?
like,
that takes me back to 2019.
Just asking the questions.
Yes, it was. And the rest, Fred Armisen is in it, and it's so yeah, it's like your basic blockbuster animated movie. But I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I think people are getting sweaty over Chris Pratt. I mean, yeah, Chris Pratt seems to be getting like all the fun plum roles, I guess, or people are like maybe getting Pratt fatigue. Is that a thing?
No, not for me. I mean, he's a Bible thumper, but other than that, he
thumps it pretty
quietly.
Work. At least he does it quietly.
There's been a couple of times, but no, I mean, I do, but the whole thing of like in this day and age, it's like, why is an American of Norwegian descent playing an Italian? You know what I mean? Why there's no Italians out there who can maybe play Italian?
They do have. Mario. I'm sorry, you were saying.
You've heard my Mario. I don't know why I'm not in the running. It's me, a Mario.
It sounds just as good as anybody else's Mario, I think. They do have an Italian guy, Sebastian Maniscalco. He's a comedian, and he's playing Spike, which is a deep fucking cut, I think.
Is there Luigi in it?
Luigi, what's that?
Who's playing Luigi?
Charlie Day.
Okay, Charlie Day is Luigi. Okay.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's just it's fun. It's fun to I like how the internet, they think now that they can cast like Jeopardy, and they think the internet now thinks it can like and by the way, remember when Sonic the Hedgehog's design was wrong?
Yep.
And the internet won.
And the internet won that round.
Yeah, they're like, okay, fine, we're gonna enslave our animators for a year or 6 months or 9 months or whatever it took for them to reanimate Sonic,
the entire movie.
Well, that was probably the right call, right?
It was it was definitely the right call, because Sonic turned out to be a good movie, all things considered, and they're making a sequel. But this is going to be an all animated movie. It's not like a hybrid kind of thing. Of course, the memes going around now are Chris Pratt in Jurassic World, like hushing a bunch of Yoshis instead of velociraptors, when he's doing that thing with his arms.
That's pretty great.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm sure we'll see the movie when it comes out, because it's a goddamn Mario movie. Although I didn't see the Mario movie when it came out in 1993, because I knew that was a flaming hot turd.
Whatever happened to those directors?
God.
So Biff, it says Biff's pub quiz.
It's that time. Okay. Yeah, it's that. Right. It's the return of the quiz.
Oh,
I'm going to share my screen.
Return of the quiz. Return of the quiz.
You get to play it with Joe this time.
Okay, so do you see the panel of 4 women on the left side of the screen?
Yes.
One of these women is a porn star.
Okay.
I want you to guess which one.
Oh, okay.
So we'll try this. We'll have both of you make a first guess. So I'm gonna give yourself a couple seconds. I'm gonna count to 5, and when I say 5, I want you to tell me A, B, C, or D. I want you both to blurt it out at the same time when you're ready. Okay?
I'm ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
A.
C.
A. My God, Jacques, you have chosen one of my absolute my stupid thing.
You gotta get the you gotta get the YouTube Premium, no ads.
I do. You got one of my favorite drummers in a Japanese girl band. I'm so bummed that you would pick one of my favorite drummers. And Joe, you said C?
Yeah, you should, by the way, I just want to describe, because this is an audio podcast. So she's a kind of they're all kind of slender women, but she's like kind of slight. She's leaning over. She's wearing like this sort of like a
Tablecloth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a tablecloth type
Yep.
of dress. Looks very wholesome.
Yeah.
B is a girl with reddish brown hair, who's just sort of like she looks like she's in a hotel room laying on her bed, kind of just looking at the camera. C is like a beauty shot of a girl at a beach or some sort of outdoor thing where she's wearing like a white dress with like kind of like a see-through frill on the top.
Yeah.
And then D is a woman with like long red hair with like a bow in it,
and
she's got
obviously
big boobs, like
and
very
obviously,
big.
I was going to say D, but I thought he's making it too easy and making
Right,
it D.
like she has big boobs, and she's looking straight at the camera, and she looks like she was most likely a porn star. So I went with C. She looks like this looks like her pre-wedding photo, this is like
Right. And to kind of give a history, I've kind of gone both ways with it, because like the last quiz, I had one girl that looked most obviously like a porn. Well, and one of them, the one that looks kind of most obviously like a porn star, kind of was the porn star. But then there was one where I did exactly what Jacques said. The one that looked most obviously like a porn star was a guitarist in a all girls metal band. So this is why we should have Joe on the show a lot more, because Joe nailed the porn star on the first.
Time out. That sentence has never been uttered. Joe nailed the porn star. Okay.
So there you go. Joe got
wait a second. Put that back. You go back to the drummer.
This isn't being recorded, so I'm only gonna put it out for so long.
All right, I'll.
The funny thing is,
text me the name later.
It doesn't. Why do you need? It's emailing. Anyway, the other two women, both drummers. I got 3 drummers and a porn star.
See, you gotta use
which
the
one's
opposite.
from Baby Metal?
None. Baby Metal, because Baby Metal is not a band. It's not an act where the women play instruments. They just sing.
Just saying, they
They're
sing
like
goddesses.
They're the menudo of Japanese metal band.
Yeah. I mean, but these, they're like actually pretty hardcore, drummers. Once again, they're freaking, doing that stupid ads. But if you,
hey, I'm watching that.
I know, right?
Don't.
But I mean, we're talking. This is the kind of drumming that comes out of this.
Hell yeah.
Letter D.
Hell yeah. D for drums.
So yeah. That's Marina, the drummer from Aldius. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, Joe, what are you watching these days?
I'm watching C's movie, by the way. No, I don't. What am I watching? What am I watching? Well, I mean, I was catching up on a lot of Norm MacDonald stuff recently. I'm actually taking my first, actually a couple things. One, Head of the Class is on HBO Max. I guess they're doing a reboot of Head of the Class. If you don't remember that show, that's the 80s show with Howard Hesseman as an English
follow
teacher.
up to
Right.
WKRP.
Yeah, late 80s. And it's about him and is a high school teacher of like a smart kids class, it's just he teaches history, but yeah, like that's like I guess getting a reboot, and that's of our generation, my wife and my generation. I wasn't in high school when that came out, but that was the launch pad for not only Robin Givens, but also Dan Schneider.
Oh.
Do you know Dan Schneider? He played Dennis. He was the fat guy on that show. He was the Norman Lear of Nickelodeon shows. He invented iCarly and all
yes.
those.
Wow.
Yeah. So he and Harvey Danger or something like that. All those Nickelodeon shows from the late 2000s or whatever it was.
So that's the jerk that I get to thank for all the crappy TV I had to watch while my child was growing up.
Yes.
We loved iCarly.
Actually, iCarly is actually pretty good. That girl is, and now she's obviously a grown woman now, but
Yeah,
she's actually really good.
They brought that back.
Show was great.
Yeah, but so anyways, we're watching reruns of Head of the Class, which is actually kind of it's an okay show. It wasn't as cheesy or bad as I remembered it to be. But I'm also trying again to watch for the first time ever The Sopranos.
Oh,
Never seen The Sopranos like properly, you know, like I see clips and stuff, but I've never actually got into The Sopranos when it was first run. And now that it's officially retro because it's a 1999 show,
Yep.
I'm actually diving into that. So I'm
it's
watching
old
The
enough to
Sopranos.
watch.
Right. And then I think now that Michael K. Williams, rest in peace, is gone, I'll watch The Wire.
Yeah.
And you know, so that's, you know, one of the many things I'm
Those are
watching,
like
of course.
grown-up shows. What about you, Biff? What do you wasting your time
I
with?
was thinking about going back, similar to what you're doing, but like I did watch stretches of Dexter, but I was thinking I should kind of go back and because I think they're they're restarting Dexter again.
They are.
So I was thinking, maybe I should kind of go back and get that whole set.
It's all shot, and it was shot in Boston.
Oh,
You know, as was Free Guy.
A lot of
nice.
stuff is being produced in Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of I've been watching the game show channel a lot.
Oh,
Hey,
so look at you.
like,
hey,
who
me.
plugged in the
Yeah, I know,
Christmas
right?
tree over there?
And
Look at
I
you.
don't see so good. Is that Joe over there?
Yeah. And I love I love it when I recently saw one of those the Family Feuds where the person blurts out the answer, but there was a malfunction and two answered up, that person's answer plus the next one came up at the same time is I gotta do a do-over.
Was that was it the Richard Dawson or
That's
Steve
the Richard
Harvey?
Dawson one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Those
Yeah.
are But yeah, that's, by the way, just a little programming note. I think those air very late in the day. Like I think those air like in the middle of the night. Because I sometimes I'll leave on the buzzer channel.
Yeah.
And then like I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. and I'm like, what the hell is
Oh.
what's waking me up? And it's like, ding, survey says ding. It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like 3 p.m. ish here, so maybe it's during your dinner time or something like that, and that's why maybe you never see it.
oh, okay, yeah. See,
Yeah.
I know that we run it like middle of the
Yeah.
night.
No, yeah. So maybe I'm it's certainly middle of the night. Well, yeah, I might be up at those hours, but yeah, like kind of like in the afternoon. So I
Nice.
actually get the match game, and then the Family Feud, and then we get the Family Feud match game power hour. I think those 3 in a row, kind of a thing.
Oh
So-
yes, right. And
This
Jacques,
is the most buzzard programming talk outside of the buzzard offices.
well, and by
What
the
are
way,
you
they
talking about?
they brought back they're rerunning now a new game show on Buzzer called this is a deep cut that nobody cares about. It's a
Yeah.
game show called Whew. It's spelled WHEW, and it's a really dumbass game show, but they brought it back. It was like a late 70s thing. Check out if you want to see a weird, hard to
Yes.
follow. If you want to, it's a weird, hard to follow.
Yeah.
I think it was produced by the same people who eventually did Press Your Luck. But
Okay.
Tom Kennedy's the host. Nobody knows who Tom Kennedy is, Joe, because you're the
You
only one
do.
who watches. Yeah. And so
And
you
that's
know
what
One day
matters.
you will
It
too.
Yes, I will, because you'll post it this week and I will check it out.
Anyway, so yeah, right. But I'm with you, Biff. Buzzer is good. It's a good thing to have, and I'm glad that there's a place for those old
Absolutely.
ass
yeah.
70s game shows.
That and anything with like either Jim Perry or Burt Convey, those old, there's something about those old game show hosts that I don't,
Yeah, Super
Yeah.
Password is funny, and
Yeah.
Tattletales is funny with Burt
Yeah.
Convey. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. And I mean, to be honest, a lot of those game shows are before my time. Like the 70s
Yeah.
shows, like I'd never seen Tattletales, when I was a kid, because that wasn't on when I was a kid.
Yeah.
God bless you. I'm watching Ted Lasso, of course, which
Yeah.
it's just how is it getting better? And there's a character on that. I mean, between the Ted Lasso and The Crown, I think those were the only Emmys given out. Like they gave one Emmy to
And Conan.
they gave one
Yeah.
Emmy to Conan and his
But
cohorts
John Oliver
on,
got a lot, right?
on the right. No, but yeah, the Stephen Colbert thing with Conan, Conan just killed the Emmys. Like he just awesome. He is
Right.
just the
From
god.
him, yeah. Like he was saluting the president of
I guess the whole
Emmys.
time he stood and saluted the whole time because the guy
Yeah.
kept looking over like, what the hell's going on? But anyways, Ted Lasso won so many Emmys. The guy who plays my favorite character, Roy, who is this curmudgeon, older player, and his character has grown so much, but hasn't changed at all. You know what I mean? So it's still great. But I'm watching
Brett,
that.
Brett Goldstein is the actor's name.
And he has a podcast called, and who doesn't, called Movies You Should Be Buried With, which is a fun thing. Guy's a great comedy writer. But I'm watching that, The Titans, of course, which is really dark and really great. Well, dark for a comic book, kind of TV show in the DC world. Like killing main characters brutally, like graphically killing, like, oh, this person has been in the Titans for 20. Oh, I guess they're running the Titans and this show is over.
And then like The Walking Dead, right? I mean, that's the thing with The Walking Dead, where they,
yep. Don't get too attached.
Yeah.
I can tell my children. And then I'm watching, and I love everything, as you guys know. What If? The reimagined What If? It's a series on Disney Plus, Biff, where it's like, it's an animated show, but it's all the voices from the people from the MCU. But it's like, what if Agent Carter took the super serum and not Steve Rogers? What if T'Challa was abducted by the Ravengers and not Peter Quill? You know what I mean? These reimagined.
What if the spider bit the teacher?
Right. It's they haven't got to that one yet, but it's probably coming. But it's
what
like,
if Chris Pratt played Black Panther? Like, that's the question.
Yeah, no, hey, look, hey, if a mermaid can be black, why can't a white person play the Black Panther, man? Right, I'll show myself.
Oh boy.
I do want to actually I know that I'm not going to be on this podcast again for quite some time, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I how could I forget that I'm watching the highest rated Hulu comedy of all time, Only Murders in the Building.
How is that?
Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez.
Yeah,
it's great. It's a great show. It is really well done. It drops weekly on Tuesdays. I haven't watched the last episode, but my wife and I are watching it together.
Yeah.
And we binged through the first 5 weeks or so, but it's a really good show. And it's Martin Short is the best. He's like, Steve Martin is funny. Selena Gomez is great. Martin Short is the best. The Nathan Lane's on the show as well. Sting.
Nathan Lane is so good.
Sold. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Martin Short is one of those guys that does, and he does so well in a kind of an ensemble setting, right? I think he's so much, when there's other people that he can, feed off, for lack of a better term, he just makes that interaction so great, right?
Yeah. He's definitely better when he's like, he has to be zany against somebody else's straight.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you don't know the plot real quick, it's a New York apartment building. And there are people who live in the building together they're essentially strangers, but then through like some kind of chance meetings, they discover that they all like the same murder podcasts, like those true crime podcasts. But then there's an actual murder in the building.
Okay.
So then they start their own podcast.
That's great. Okay, so enough. I will literally go upstairs and see if I can get management to watch a couple episodes this weekend with me. Joe, it has been a while since you've been on the podcast. We record every 2 weeks, so we won't be talking to you for 2 weeks. But in the meantime,
we have 2 weeks of Joe.
My world is falling apart. I don't know how to handle my children because you haven't been dropping parenting advice my way. So could you give us some parenting advice?
Oh, me? Well, I'm so glad you asked that, Jacques, because I am nothing if I'm not a very good father. So good that I impart wisdom publicly on a podcast, but I'll be damned if I'm doing it for free. Biff, what's your parenting tip of the week?
My son started a real job, and the thing that I'm really trying to push him for is teach the kids to save early, especially when they're living in your house still, and so that essentially we're at this point where I told them, listen, take a first few paychecks, and you're gonna get money, you want to spend it, and you haven't been spending, so yeah, go ahead and spend the first few paychecks. But then essentially starting the next month, let's start kind of, serious about a savings plan, moving stuff out of there so that number one, how to curtail your spending. and then number two, so that you guys actually have something that you can, build on. So that's kind of something that I failed to do as as a young person, and I wish that he will not feel like I did.
For me, it's taken me a while. I've taken the boys truly around the globe, but we haven't seen things in our own backyard. And they don't like to do things. And so my parenting thing is just tell them to shut the fuck up, get in the car, and then take them to see the touristy things in your own backyard. You don't know. It might come up on a test. You should know about the city that you live in, the place that your parents from. You might accidentally learn something, and you never know when you're going to be in a situation. Maybe it's a game show. Maybe one day you'll be held up on the subway and somebody will ask you, what was the biggest art heist in U.S. history? And you can say, oh, that was at the Elizabeth Gardner Museum the day at wee hours in the morning after a Saturday night St. Patrick's Day in 1990. And it could save your life. So even though they're going to bitch and complain about things, my wife now says the same thing. It's like, yeah, she bitched and complained, but her dad took her to all these things, and how much in her life it's came up. Like, oh yeah, I've done that. Oh, I've been there. Oh yeah, I know that fact because, I got out of my fucking house and saw shit. So as long as you're bigger than them and you can physically get in the car and take them places, with the Muay Thai that I got them into them, my window might be shrinking, a hellscape of my own creation, but make them do shit is my thing. And you know what? On that note, I'm done. The two of you can chat for a little bit. You can chat for a little bit. You can chat for hours, but I'm going to let you guys wrap it up.
Well, Biff, it's been a pleasure. I miss you guys. I really do. I do listen every week. Those podcasts though with the music lists. Oh boy.
I know, right?
There's some, they're a little rough. There's some disagreements there. I do want to give Jacques a major thank you for dropping Weird Al as a musical genius, because you know what, you won that episode in my opinion. I'm glad that he got some representation there. So, but yeah, I'm very happy to not be talking publicly on a regular basis. I bid you a fond adieu, and rest in peace, Norm MacDonald. If I hadn't said it already, rest in peace, Norm MacDonald. Biff, take it away.
I think so we definitely miss you, and I think the podcast is so much better when you were running the show. But we obviously you have this whole, on top of everything you did, the recording and the editing, all that stuff. So there's so much that you bring to the show that I could never ever bring. But don't forget.
girl.